Good morning, everyone. Today, in this subject of nanotechnology and surface engineering, in previous lecture we have discussed about the basic uh, concept that what we are going to study in this whole subject, and we have also discussed that how this material characterizations is very important in nanotechnology. So that's why today we are going to start some material characterization tools which has been widely used for nanotechnology, and we are also going to compare that with optical microscopy, and then we are going to discuss the various components of that microscopy tool, then its working and its construction. So generally there are some tools like X-ray diffraction, SEM, TEM, okay, so which has been widely used for nanotechnology and also for surface coating and surface engineering. So out of them, today we are going to see about the basic concept and construction of a scanning electron microscope, SEM. So this is the general diagram of this scanning electron microscope, and in that one we have various components to characterize the material. Okay, so this is only for idea that uh, how that SEM look likes. Okay, now in detail we are going to discuss about the various components of this SEM machine. So generally this SEM was designed by Stenzing and Noll in Germany, and it is around 1965, and the types of electron microscope that images the sample by scanning is with high energy beam of electrons. Okay, so this is the main concept over here. So in this electron microscope we are using a high energy beam of electrons to generate the image of the sample, okay, by scanning, while in optical microscope we have a light source. Now what can we study in the study in a SEM, okay, or why this SEM is used? So this SEM is used to find out the topological and morphology analysis of the material. Okay, so from that one you can easily find out the texture of that material. By SEM analysis we are able to find out the chemistry of the material, means we can able to find out the chemical composition of the material. We are also able to find out the crystallography, means crystal structure, its orientation. Okay, so all these data which we can easily identify from this SEM analysis, and then orientation of the material. So this is the study what we can perform on SEM analysis, uh, and this is the one. These are the very basic and basic requirement to understand the structure of any matter, and that's why this SEM nowadays become very popular in study of all these analysis. So here we will compare the optical and electron microscope. What is that basic difference between that optical microscope and electron microscope? So here the basic difference between them is about first the source of illumination. The source of illumination. So to illuminate that particular portion of a material, okay, in optical microscope we use a ambient light source. Okay, we use a ambient light source. Okay, so that light source that will be of different kinds of brightness of lamp we use. Okay, and generally that light source that will be used to illuminate that particular portion of a material, while here electrons, in electron microscope we use electrons are used to see light is replaced by an electron gun. Okay, built into the column. Okay, so here we have a light source, and in that one the light source is replaced by the electron gun. Okay, and generally from the electron gun the electrons are produced, and that electrons that will utilize to analyze or to eliminate that particular portion. Then second is a type of lens. Okay, which type of lens is used in optical microscope? So we have a glass lens. Okay, simple different types of glass which is used as a lens. Okay, while here though we have a electrons over here, so we use a electromagnetic lenses. Okay, not glass lenses, but here that electromagnetic lenses are used to uh, particular electrons. Then magnification method, how we magnified the object. Okay, so the magnification is changed by the moving the lens. Okay, simply we move the lens or we can alter the lens. Okay, we can change the lens, and from that different types of magnification lens, or by moving that lens in a particular direction, we can magnify the object. Okay, while here focal length is charged by changing the current through the lens. Okay, so here this focal length is changed. Okay, and how it is changed? By charging the current, or by charging the current through that lens. Okay, so here we have a electromagnetic length, and in that electromagnetic length, if we change the focal length and we change the current, okay, so depends upon that the magnification we will get. Okay, so how much or what will be the magnification what we desire. Okay, so that can be easily controlled by this current. Okay, as we pass the current into that electromagnetic length, and its focal length will be changed, so that we can have a magnification in electron microscope. While here the magnification is changed by moving the lens. Okay, we can simply move the lens in a particular direction, as well as we can replace the lens by higher magnified lens. Okay, so this is how we can do the magnification of a image in this optical microscope as well as in a electron microscope. Then viewing the sample. Okay, so how we can view the sample? So simply we have eyepiece. Okay, and through that eyepiece we can view the characteristics of the sample. Okay, while here we have a fluorescent screen, or generally digital camera, which is used, and that digital camera is attached with the computer. Okay, so we have a such a digital output we can easily get into that electron microscope. While here we have a eyepiece, generally eyepiece is used, and nowadays in that one also we have a digital output is available. So in both the case we can use various viewing type. Then use of vacuum. Okay, so here the major difference is that here no vacuum is used. In optical microscope we do not use any vacuum, while here the entire electron path from the gun to the camera must be under the vacuum. Okay, so this is the major difference. And why this is? Because here we have only a light source. Okay, So the light source is generally not affected by the external environment. But here we have electrons, okay, and that electron which is passing through a particular path. Now, if we do not vacuum that path, then whatever the electrons which is passing through that particular path, which can be deflected due to the particles available into the air. So the path that will be totally deflected, and due to that deflection we are not able to generate a good view, okay, or we are not going to see that what we require. And that's why the proper magnification and the clarity in that figure or clarity in the diagram which cannot be achieved. So the electrons must pass through the particular path without any deflection, and when it is possible if there is no obstacles in that path. And how we can make that path without obstacle if it is a vacuum? Okay, so that's why in electron microscope the entire electron path, okay, from the gun, okay, what is gun and why it is used that we will see, but from the gun means it is starting point, and to the camera means the end point. Okay, so from starting point to the end point, this whole electron path which is under the vacuum, so that there is no deflection of the electrons and no foreign particles that will interrupt, so that we can have a good clarity and higher magnification of the image. So this is the basic difference between this optical microscope and electron microscope. Okay, so generally this optical microscope we have already studied in our subject material science and metallurgy. Okay, and in that one we have seen that what are the various components of the optical microscope, what is the sample preparation method, okay, how the sample are prepared and it is be mounted to see the microstructure of that particular metal. So same way here, this is the difference between this optical microscope and electron microscope. We have seen that the source of illumination, the types of lens being used, the magnification method, viewing the sample, okay, and vacuum. Then if we see the diagram of this optical or light microscope and electron microscope, so here you can see that we have a light source over here, okay, and that light source is passing through that condenser. We have a specimen, and from that specimen whatever be the reflection that will take, and then it will be projected to our eye. Okay, so this is the basic fundamental principle of light microscope, optical microscope. While here in electron microscope we have, this is the electron gun. Okay, this is the electron gun, this is the magnetic lens. Okay, then we have a condenser, we have a objective, and then here we have a specimen. Okay, and then from that specimen we have these deflected electrons, and that deflected electrons, this is the direction of the deflected electrons, and then that will be uh, uh, detected by the electron detector, and from that one we can view by the eye, or we can attach it with the camera, or we can attach with the computer. Okay, so from that one we can have the magnified view. So this is the basic difference between this electron microscope and the uh, optical microscope. In here, as we have seen over here, first that the source of illumination, so here the source of illumination is light, while here we have a electron. Okay, then we have a glass or lens. Okay, while here we have a electromagnetic lens. Okay, so you can see this is the condenser, that is one kinds of glass. Okay, while here we have a electromagnetic condensers. Okay, then magnification type, here it is objective lenses we use. Okay, so here you can say this is the objective lens, okay, from which we can do it. Okay, while here in that in electron microscope we have a focal length is charged by the current. Okay, so here this condenser, which is electromagnetic condenser over here, okay, so it is charged. So from that one we can easily focus that electrons on a particular uh, path. And then we have a eyepiece over here, okay, digital camera, and this one is under no vacuum, while here it is in vacuum. Okay, so if you see this diagram, the next diagram here, you can see this is the vacuum chamber. Okay, so this whole outer area, that is the vacuum chamber, and this whole path you can see from starting from electron gun to that output camera. Here this is the output camera. Okay, so all these parts which is under the vacuum chamber. Okay, so this whole system which is under the vacuum. Okay, this whole one is in the vacuum. Okay, while here there is no use of any vacuum, it will be in a environment. Okay, while it will be protected from the external environment by vacuuming that particular path. So this is the basic difference between optical microscope and electron microscope. Now today we are going to see in detail the construction of the electron microscope and construction and use of each and every part. So this is the component and working principle of SEM. So generally here we have this electron gun. Through that electron gun, the electrons are produced. It is a negatively charged. Then to accelerate that electrons, we have anode over here, which is positively charged. So that whatever the electron beam which is generated over here, okay, it will be accelerated by this anode. Then we have a condenser lens. Okay, so means here we have a magnetic lens to focus the lens. Okay, so there may be various stages of that condenser lens which is being used. Okay, and then we have a scanning coils, and then it will be that electron beams which is transferred and it will be struck to the specimen, and from that specimen various electrons being generated. Okay, so that one, so this whole area that is known as a sample chamber. Okay, this whole area which is known as a sample chamber, and when the electrons will stuck with that uh, specimen, okay, various electrons being generated. Okay, so that will be detected by this X-ray detector, secondary detector. Same way there are some back scatter electrons which is go back again, and it will be deflected, means it will be recorded by the back scattered electron. Okay, so there are 2 to 3 various different types of detectors over here, and all that detectors will detect that electrons, and from that one the image is generated. Okay, so this is the basic diagram you can see over here. Okay, this is the electron gun. Okay, this one is the actual diagram from which we have a vacuum chamber over here. Now this is the schematic diagram. So from that one you can see here, this is the electron gun, and from through that electron gun, that electron beams are generated. Okay, and that electron beams are accelerated by this anode. It is a positive charge. Okay, so that it will be accelerated. Now all that electron beams which is to be condensed by this magnetic lens, and then we have a scanning coil to focus it, and then it will be focused to the specimen. Now from that one some electrons which is generated, so that is the backscattered electrons, so that will be detected over here. some electrons deflected back, so that is the back scattered. So this is detected over here, and it will go through this here. Same way we have some scanning coils, so through that one also we have some electrons, so that will go, and we have this X-ray detector. So all this that will go to that TV or scanner. Okay, so here we have a 2 3 4 different types of detectors are available, and whatever the detector will detect, all this will be combined, and from that combination we have a image which is generated. And that's why the image generated through the SEM, that will give you a more detail about the materials. Okay, it will give a detailed view, or from that diagram we are going to uh, see more details regarding the object, while over here we have only one output through which whatever we can get. Okay, so from that one we can have the only certain limited limited things which we can see by using this optical microscope, while here we have so many different output, and that from that output we are able to get a detailed uh, diagram or higher magnified diagram of a material. And that's why this SEM, that's become a one of the important part of this surface or nanomaterial characterization nowadays. So today we are going to discuss about the basic requirement and working of each and every components of the scanning electron microscope. And this diagram, this schematic diagram is very important. Okay, whenever this question will be asked in exam regarding the working principle of SEM diagram. Okay, so you have to draw this basic diagram because it is a simple and effective diagram. So this diagram that you have to draw, and then you have to explain the working principle and components of the scanning electron microscope. So here uh, the SEM requires an electron optical system to produce an electron probe, a specimen stage to place. Okay, so we require electron probe to generate an electron, then a specimen stage to place the specimen. So here we have a specimen stage, this is the specimen stage to place the specimen, a secondary electron detector to collect the secondary electrons. Okay, so this is the secondary electron detectors, an image display unit, so this is the image display unit, and an operation system to perform the various operation. Okay, so here we require a various operation system to perform the operation. Okay, so these are the basic components of the SEM system. The electron optical system consists of an electron gun. Okay, now we talk about only this electro optical system. So in that one we have a electron gun, a condenser lens, and a objective lens. Here this is the objective lens to produce an electron probe. Okay, so this one is the system of electron generation. Okay, so we have a electron gun, then we have electron condenser, and we have a objective lens or scanning lens, a scanning coil to scan the electron probe, and other components. Okay, so that's why we require this scanning coil. And the electron optical system inside of the microscope column. Okay, so this is the microscope column, and the space around the specimens are kept at vacuum. Okay, so that's why we whatever this diagram you can see here, this line that will represent a vacuum system. Okay, so all this system, electro optical system, that will be kept in a vacuum. And why it will be kept at volume, that what we have already discussed. Okay, so that the electron that will not deflected by the uh, foreign particles, okay, so that the part of the electron that may not be changed. So the components of the SEM: first, electron gun; second, lenses; third, scanning coil; specimen chamber; detectors; vacuum chambers, and aperture. So one by one we are going to see. So first, electron gun. What is the use of the electron guns and why it is used? So the use of electron gun to produce beam of electron. First and foremost thing required in a SEM is to produce a beam of electrons, and to generate that beam of electron guns are used. Okay, so the gun is composed of a filament, Van Heldt cylinder, and an anode. Okay, so you can see here it has a three part. Okay, filament, this is the filament. Okay, then Van Heldt cylinder. Okay, so this is the Van Heldt cylinder to protect, and then anode, this is the anode. Okay, this one is the anode. Okay, so it will be consist three parts: filament, okay, Van Heldt cylinder, and this one is the anode. Now that filament, that will be of different type. So the W filament, this one, the W filament is the standard. W means here it is a tungsten. Okay, so that's why the tungsten filament is the standard tungsten filament. It has a relatively low cost and is easy to maintain. Okay, so that tungsten filament, it is it has a relatively low cost and it is easy to maintain. Okay, so this is the one kind of filament used. Then second one is a lanthanum hexaboride, LaB6. Lanthanum hexaboride crystal has a longer lifespan. Okay, so this is the LaB6 filament, has a longer lifespan and produce a slightly brighter and more cohesive beam. Okay, so that's why what type of beam we require, based on that we can also choose the types of the filament. So tungsten filament, which is having a low cost and it is easy to maintain, while this lanthanum hexaboride, which is as compared to tungsten carbide, it has a longer lifespan and it also produce a brighter and more cohesive beam. Okay, while this the FEG, field emission gun, is the best type of gun and by far the most expensive to purchase and maintain. Okay, so you can see this shape. Okay, so from that shape you can easily understand that the electron beam which is generated by this FEG, it is very cohesive and bright, but the manufacturing of that FEG gun is very difficult. That's why it is the most expensive electron gun. Okay, and it is also difficult to maintain because it will it require a higher maintenance as compared to both this tungsten as well as lanthanum hexaboride uh, filament, and that's why generally it is avoided, and that's why you can see that it is not always available or needed. Okay, and generally in most of the SEM we find this tungsten filament because the tungsten filament is having a low cost and easy to maintain. While in special cases where we require a particular brighter uh, electron beam and very cohesive beam, in that case either we go for a lanthanum hexaboride or a field emission gun. So this electron gun having a three part. Okay, we have a filament, we have a Van Holt cylinder, and we have a anode. Now, the electron gun produce an electron beam. Here you can see this is the electron gun which produce a electron beam. Okay, this is the electron beam. Note that this is a thermionic emission gun, okay, TE gun. The thermoelectrons are emitted from a filament, okay, so this is the filament from which the thermoelectrons are emitted, okay, and generally it is made up of a tungsten wire about 0.1 mm, you can, okay, so approximately the diameter of that tungsten wire is 0.1 mm. And how we get that electrons? By heating the filament at a high temperature of around 2800 Kelvin. Okay, so it will be heated. The tungsten wire is heated at a very higher temperature. Very thin tungsten wire is heated at a very high temperature, and at a high temperature it will generate a thermoelectrons. And these thermoelectrons are gathered as an electron beam, okay, and all these thermoelectrons that will be gathered as a electron beam and flowing into the metal plate, okay, and then it will be flow into the metal plate which is termed as a anode, okay, and that anode is a applying a positive voltage up to 1 to 30 kilowatt. Okay, so here we will apply a positive charge of about 1 to 30 kilowatt, so that whatever the thermoelectrons which is generated as an beam, okay, it will start flowing in that particular direction. And if a hole is made at the center of the anode, okay, so here you can see this is the anode, and in that one we have a hole. If a hole is made at the center of the anode, the electron beams flow through this hole, okay, so this electron beam that will start flowing through that through that hole which is made in a anode. And when you place an electrode called a walnut electrode between the cathode and anode and apply a negative voltage here, okay, apply a negative voltage to it, you can adjust the current of the electron beam, okay, so to and that's why this valence cylinder is used to adjust that current of the electron beam, and based on that current, the speed, the acceleration, as well as the brightness, all the characteristics of that generated beam which can be controlled. And at this time the electron beam is finely focused by the action of Van Holt electron, okay, and that's why this Van Holt electrode is required, or this cylinder is required, because we have to concentrate that beam at a very narrow path, okay, we have to concentrate this to a very narrow path, and to concentrate this at a very narrow path we have to pass a current, okay, so that it can be focused, and the finest point of the beam which is called as a crossover, okay, so by different application of voltage and current through this cathode and anode, okay, and through this gap of a Van Holt cylinder we have a one point which is the finest point of that uh, cross finest point of the flow of the electrons, and that finest point, that is known as a crossover, and uh, this is regarded as an actual electron source with a diameter of 15 micrometer to 20 microns, okay, so you can see that a crossover point which is very, very small, very fine. Okay, and what is its size? Its size is only 15 to 20 micron, so that it's a very fine uh, beam that we can able to generate, and from that crossover point we are getting only 15 to 20 micron diameter. The thermo TE gun explained here is the most generally used. Okay, so this is the common diagram generally used in most of the SCM. And lanthanum hexaboride single crystal is also used as a cathode. Okay, so sometime instead of this tungsten, okay, we use a lanthanum hexaboride single crystal, but it require a higher vacuum because of its high activity. Okay, so this is another as we told earlier that it require a higher maintenance. Okay, so why? Because to active to get to run that lanthanum hexaboride single crystal as a cathode, it require a high vacuum, so that uh, its activity with the environment which can be eliminated, and that's why it require a higher maintenance. And that's why instead of this lanthanum hexaboride, this generally tungsten wire which is used mostly used very commonly in most of the SCM analysis. And other electron guns are field emission electron guns or a Scotty emission electron guns. Okay, so there are various different types of guns nowadays evaluated, but the best and suitable electron gun for the or the electron beam generated filament is a tungsten filament that we find, because it has a low cost and it is easy to maintain. Then second part is a lens. Okay, so here uh, we have a first electron gun. Okay, so whatever this part what we have studied. Okay, then we have a lenses. So there will be a condenser lens that determines the number of electrons in the beam which hit the sample by reducing the diameter of the electron beam. Okay, so that condenser lens that will decide or determine that how many numbers of electrons from the beam which is going to hit the sample. Okay, and to reduce that number of electrons, the diameter of that electron beam which is to be reduced, and to reduce that the condenser lenses are used. Then second lens is a objective lens that changes the position of the point at which the electron are focused on a sample. Okay, so it will be easily used to the to change the focus of the electrons on a sample. So that's why these two lenses are very important. One will decide that how many electrons hit which is going to hit on that sample, and second will decide that what will be the position of that electrons at which that electrons are focused on the sample. Okay, so the condenser lens focus the beam onto the specimen, while the objective lens either provide the first magnification or focus the beam to a point that scans across the specimen using the scanning coils. Okay, so you can see here this is the electromagnetic beam. Okay, or sorry, this is the electron beam which is passing through this one. Okay, so through that condenser lens here it will be able to pass only a small strip of a beam. Okay, small strip of the beam which is passing through this, and then it will be struck to the specimen. Now if you see the enlarged view over here, so you can see that, as we know that it will reduce the diameter of the electron beam. It will reduce the diameter of the electron beam. So here you can see this is the input of this electron beam. Here you can see, if you enlarge this diagram, okay, so this is the input of that electron beam which is entering into that coil, okay. And here, due to that magnetic effect, okay, that electron beams are deflected and it will narrower, okay. So here in that output we have a narrow beam over here, okay. So in that input, this is the input diameter, while at the output this is the output diameter, so that the very narrow beam of the electron which is generated, and then that beam that will be going to struck to the object specimen. So that construction of that electron, how that lenses that will going to operate, and how that electrons beam that will be uh, reduced in that diameter, okay. So that we will see in our upcoming lecture.